Boom, hello and welcome to the Executive Protection Lifestyle Podcast, Season 2.
With your host, Byron Rodgers. This podcast is dedicated to the executive protection practitioner, the private security professional. In this podcast, we're going to talk about the mental, emotional, psychological, physiological fitness that goes into being an efficient and effective executive protection agent. Whether you're in law enforcement, whether you're a mom that's looking at how to protect her children, or a father that's focused on how to protect his family, I believe this podcast has something for all of you. We might even get into some tales from the crypts of true Hollywood stories from time to time. I'm doing this podcast because I feel the reality of this job is simple. If you really want to be good at executive protection, it's more than just a job. It really is a lifestyle. And those of you who've been in the game for any serious amount of time, you already know what I'm saying is true. So if that sounds interesting to you, enjoy the show. Out.
Boom, what's up, you guys? Byron Rodgers here with Executive Protection Lifestyle Podcast. We've got Edgeworth Security here. I've got Ken Young and Chad Brockway here with me, and I'm excited because we're going to bring some new technology to you guys and to the game that I don't think a lot of you have seen before. How you gentlemen doing tonight?
Good, man. How are you?
Good. It's an honor having you here. One of the reasons I brought you on the show was because I think a lot of people in the security industry that are kind of at the tip of the spear or trying to keep up with the game are starting to realize that so much of what we do is becoming more and more technical. There's just the digital realm is like another layer of reality that we need to be efficient and effective protectors within, in my opinion. And that's kind of some of the stuff that I've been hearing out there around, word on the street. So we had a meeting a month or so ago. You guys were showing me some really, really useful things you guys could do. So I was really excited to bring you guys on here. So once again, thanks for your time and attention, gentlemen, for sure.
Of course.
So with no further ado, why don't you go ahead and break out, some background info for us, Ken and Chad, just so everyone can get their orientation.
Yeah. So I spent just over 21 years in the Marine Corps, and I went in right after high school, and I went in with the intentions of kind of doing it until it wasn't fun anymore, until the bad days outnumbered the good. And, I literally made it to about 21 years and 4 months before it wasn't fun anymore. And, we got back from a successful deployment. We did the evacuation out of Yemen with Weapons Company 27 and had a great deployment with those guys. In fact, some of the guys from that deployment now work in my company on protection details for me. Great time there. But, you get back and you bring the infantry Marines out of the fight and you put them back in garrison and they start to get themselves in trouble a little bit. You know how that goes. So I felt more like a babysitter than a senior enlisted Marine. And I knew it was time to get out. And I submitted my resignation in less than 20 days. I was gone. And I even, I remember when the senior Marines, the sergeant majors all come and talk to you and say, if you don't want to be a Marine anymore, then you just let us know. And so I took advantage. I took full advantage of that. I did my time. I loved it. I called them on it and I held them to their word.
Good to go.
May have talked my way out of SEPs and TAPs and showed them that I had a plan and got out and got right into my next career, which obviously is the private security sector. And,
awesome.
Along the way, I met some great people like Chad Brockway, who's with us today. He spent some time serving with me as well. So
awesome, man. That's good to go. That's awesome. That's amazing. Like I said, it's an honor to be able to share time with you, man. You did quite a bit, out of 4,
that.
I did 4 and then my path took a hard right.
97% of the country. So, or whatever the percentage of people who don't serve. So there you go.
Outstanding. And then when you got into the private sector, did you jump right into this or did you do some other stuff in there?
Honestly, I spent about 3.5 months with Gavin DeBecker. And, honestly, I hear a lot of folks who either never worked for or worked for and didn't have maybe a good experience, have their opinions of what that was like. And, I got to tell you, I, to this day, maintain a great relationship with them. And I still send my protectors through their training. So that tells you what I think of them. Yeah. It was a really great experience. I mean, I know you're probably thinking, how could it be such a great experience in 3.5 months? But the amount of opportunities that they put in front of me in that short period of time really set me up for the success that I'm having even to this day. So,
Wow.
I, on the other hand, I have to give them credit for the development that they gave me in the private security sector. And I enjoyed that time with them. I just knew that, I just had one of those moments one day where I just thought, like, I want to do this for myself and I want to start my own company. And I also want to try to take the private security in a different direction, which, we explained some of the things we do, and I'm, happy to talk about it tonight on how we've, kind of taken a couple turns and sort of guided it in a different direction.
Oh man, no, that's awesome. It's really, honestly, man, it's refreshing to hear something good about Gavin, because everyone's always like, well, I kind of honestly, I kind of look at him almost like the Marine Corps of the private security industry. Like, you got the strictest rules and you're going to do it their way. I don't know. I've never been in there, so I don't know, but that's kind of how I think of them, because, they got the rules and they got the discipline, and you're just going to do it their way, or you're just not going to be around, is my perception,
but in defense to that, though,
run a solid shop. Yeah.
I listened to a lot of, I probably listened to almost every episode that you've done. And when you're a boutique niche sort of security firm, like I was listening to one with Elijah Shaw. Yeah. Obviously, guys like you and Elijah, you could be really selective, and you can handpick 5 guys for a certain mission, as can I, right? Mission. Yeah. And the reason why folks say that is because think about when you talk about how hard it is to find really great people. They're one of the largest private security firms in the country and have some of the top celebrity A-list talent as clients.
Right.
And they're doing the best they can to serve those clients. If they didn't have those rules, you could imagine what a free-for-all it would be, and the headaches. And they do, honestly, man, like giving credit where it's due. They do an amazing job of getting everybody to a level that is impressive to their clientele. And they do it in a very short period of time.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. No, yeah, like I said, it's refreshing kind of to hear that perspective. And I think certain types of people recognize it. Got people, maybe guys that like appreciate kind of more our kind of guys, like Marine Corps structure, like they kind of first sergeant would recognize it, But no, that's good to go, man. I'm glad to hear that. That's what's up. Yeah. So, Chad, how you doing, brother? Where'd you come from?
Hey, man. Yeah, doing well. Thanks. Yeah, so just kind of, completing the trio here. So I also did my time in the Marine Corps. Yeah. I followed my older brother into it. I was military police by MOS, but I actually served underneath Ken for, my first couple of years in the Marine Corps. We served as a part of a White House detail at the Marine One Helicopter Squadron. Unlike Ken, I did my 5 and out. When I left there, I had just a great opportunity. I went over to the Department of Defense for a couple of years. I was able to engage in kind of open source and human intelligence collection, how that information is collected, how it's brought in and processed, and then how it gets put out to, law enforcement across the nation so that they can utilize it. After that opportunity, I transferred over to the FBI. Was part of the FBI Cyber Division, and they're, continuing to grow on that open source intelligence kind of authority collection, dissemination, processing of just large amounts of data. And, how do you go through just vast amounts of information very quickly and accurately, and then turn that into results that can then be used as a part of like an FBI investigation. So you have to be very thorough, very quick, and very accurate as to how you do that, and then what you pull out on the back end. When I left the Marines, I actually hadn't really talked to Ken. We were friends on Facebook, and, we kind of went our own ways. And then, about 3 years ago, we just by coincidence kind of ran into each other, and he was kind of like, what are you doing? And here's what I'm doing. And, I kind of told him I'd already left the FBI, and I transferred over to do kind of exactly what I was doing on that side, but more in the commercial industry, utilizing open source intelligence tools, but more in kind of the private and commercial sector as opposed to the federal government. And
awesome.
Kind of once we started talking about it, Ken was like, man, you know what, we're doing this. How do we take everything that, you've been a part of, you've learned and built in the federal government and on the commercial side so far, and how do we bring that to the national stage? How do we turn that into a service that everybody in the world has access to and has the capability to use it. So we went through that process and we've stood up our intelligence services business line just a little bit over 3 years ago, and we've been killing it. We've been doing really well.
Man, that's awesome. That's intriguing. It's so cool to me how, like, you know, like, I don't know, like when I got out of the Marine Corps, I remember visualizing kind of like my whole platoon scattered, you know, and then like guys started tapping out and like suicides and things start happening. And it's like, I still felt like, oh man, my guys are like out there and like, it's they haven't figured out how to like survive, some of them, and guys are, you know, things are happening and it's like, we're still at war, you know. That's kind of how I felt in my heart once those things started happening. And then, so it's always just really cool to hear that you guys got out and then like you rallied back up and now you're just crushing it. You know, it's like you hit that rally point and like now you're getting after it together, man. That's really cool.
Yeah. You know, the greatest thing is like in the Marine Corps, that when they send you to, you know, Weapons Company 27 or 2nd LAR or whatever it is, you know, you show up and you get what they give you. And the greatest thing about getting out and starting your own company is, you know, you start reaching out to all those folks and you look at, you know, obviously it's not a large percentage because we're a pretty big company at this point, but you know, all of them, I'd say 90% of my protection details are filled with guys who work for me in some capacity. The director of my command center in Pittsburgh was my boss in the Marine Corps when I got to PMO for the first time. Man. And then everybody in between. So it's like you get to handpick all the people who, you know, meant something to you along the way and give them those opportunities. So,
man, that's huge. That's a blessing. Like that, being able to to be able to provide that, you know, and be able to have that stuff happen by the grace of God. That's just, I don't know. That's one of the best feelings in the world. In my opinion,
that's pretty good.
You know, to the brothers. That's cool. Awesome. So then you kind of talked about it a little bit, Chad, about how, you know, I think you called it the more digital or open source intelligence product line came into being, you know, just how, you know, the question is really just how did you guys get into this more, the technology based side of the house, you know, what pushed you in that direction? Was it just your background or?
No, it was more of a challenge from Ken. So, you know, when Ken and I started talking about this, he's like, listen, I know there are other companies out here that are doing similar stuff.
Right.
Show me what's going to make us different and show me how we can service the industry in a way that isn't being done before. And so that's what, you know, we sat down and, you know, he gave me a couple, no, not going to work, go away and come back when you get it right. And that's what we did. And we just, you know, I just applied, you know, lessons learned from the past and industry best practices. And, you know, we came back with a service that, you know, what makes us different, right? So we utilize a suite of intelligence tools that goes out and it helps us in our collection. It does kind of like the large net collection across your entire open source internet. So that's, you know, the World Wide Web as the general public knows it, right? And then also gives us certain penetrations into like dark web environments and stuff like that. And to Ken's challenge of what's going to make us different, we also have a very strong analytical team. We have a team of analysts that process every single piece of information that comes into our tools, as well as they're going out on their own and conducting analytical collection, you know, from a human mindset instead of a tool. And, you know, one thing I love to tell customers, and, you know, most of them don't understand or grasp what the meaning of this is, but every single piece of intelligence that's brought into our intelligence tools gets looked at by human eyes. That means we don't leave anything to let the system decide what's relevant.
The algorithm.
Yeah, that's right, man. And because, you know, the tools can only do so well in identifying information, you know, working with slang and, you know, names and jargon and all that kind of stuff that comes into play and that's where our analysts engage. And, you know, they're able to, when you're working across different tools that don't necessarily work together, but work independently and they all have their strong suits, all that data comes in. My analysts are able to piece together these pieces of information from all over the world, right? You're talking millions of users worldwide posting billions of pieces of content every day. And we've got to go through that, and we've got to go through it very fast. And we have to be able to bring that in, process it into, you know, what we call actionable information. If we're bringing in data and it's just cool, but it doesn't really allow our customers to make decisions, then it's useless to them, right? So everything we bring in is enables our customers to make more informed decisions. And it's not just like, again, one of the things Ken said, what makes us different is we don't just send a link with a screen grab and say, oh, you may want to look at this. We pull this down. We identify actors of interest who are involved. We blow out those individuals. This is who they are. This is who they belong to. This is who they associate with. This is what their past looks like. This is what we could expect from them in the future. We provide analytical comments, recommendations, suggestions to our customers based on, again, industry best practices of what we've seen. And really, sometimes it comes down to our best guess, but we're really good at what we do. And we're really providing a service to our customers that, it's to what Ken put me to task on is different than anything else that's out there.
Man, so you guys got like a sweatshop of analysts like in China or something?
The one thing there's a lot of things I'm proud of with our company. Yeah, man. But one of the big things is there's a lot of companies out there that do this type of work, that do the stuff that we haven't yet talked about with the cameras and the analytics and everything. Mm-hmm. But we monitor everything right here in the United States in our command center in Pittsburgh, and Chad's got a set up office in DC, and none of our stuff is outsourced. We do it all right here with trusted folks that we've personally hired that work for us. So that's something to be proud of, especially in this day and age where it's cheaper. And there's times where, you go up against, a competitive bid, and obviously we do have competition, and you have to acknowledge your competition. You're wrong 100%. If you don't. Yeah. We have competition, but we don't compromise on price, and we stand our ground, and we explain to them we're one of 6 centers that's ULA 27B certified. So you could have your information protected the right way, or you could have it sent overseas, and there's a premium to pay for that. And most of the time they will pay it. Especially when you acknowledge that, yes, you do have competition, and here's why we think we're better than that competition. You explain that to them, and then usually it goes your way.
Yeah. And when you have the confidence and your product, and you're able to just rest in the value you're going to bring to bear, then it kind of seems to take care of itself. When this is exactly why I'm asking what I'm asking. I feel right about it. And, it kind of just takes care of itself. That's awesome. Good.
Yeah, I love when when you're always asked the question, when you're picking up a client, especially in the circles that you and I and we work in, they've obviously had security before, and they're calling you because their security did not live up to the standards that they were either expecting or believe that they're paying for. Right. And when they ask me, pretty much on the high net worth and the celebrity and the athlete side, I pretty much talk to almost, I would say about 95% of them before they become clients at Edgeworth. And inevitably that question comes up. How are you different? Because my last company let me down, or my last company did this. And I just tell them it's my people. And I also make sure it's clear from the very beginning that there's a certain way that you're going to treat my people. And if you don't, then you're not going to be a client. Right. And it's really good to be in that position to be able to do that. Not because, I'm doing so well that I don't need the clients, but I also know that, as you do as well, that if your people aren't taken care of, and they're going to go elsewhere, and then you can't service those clients. So it has to be mutually beneficial. You have to be providing them with a service, and they have to be treating your people well. I always tell my folks, from the agents to the protectors out on the street, that it doesn't matter how much money some of these clients have. The one thing that they can't buy, even if they try their hardest, is they can't buy good customer support or good customer service. And that is our differentiator. There's so many people out there that do what we do.
That's true. We've all seen it in this industry where it's like, I've had to deal with some vendors, with clients that I'm just kind of looking at them like, are we not paying you? Is the money not green? Like how, what's going on with this service here? So
yeah, it can be horrible.
Yeah. It's a dying kind of thing. So you were talking about, Chad, you were talking about all this information that you guys are able to pull, and you're able to make the information make sense, and then you can present it to a client can you kind of walk me through what types of scenarios all that like data mining and monitoring is really good for with regards to like the digital layer of protection that you can put around a family or a client?
Let me start, Chad, and then you enhance what I say on this one. So if you think about, our basic client that has, do you want to talk about how we take monitoring first and then layer in these services, or do you want Chad to talk about the service layered in?
Whatever you think is good, whatever you think is the flow you want to go with, I'll roll either way.
Okay. Yeah, I think if I talk about a client who's sort of a monitoring client, and then how we layer Chad services in to enhance like sort of the concentric ring of security. Yeah, we go down that road.
Too easy. Okay. Let's do it.
All right. So yeah, we take a client home, for example, and we put our cameras out at the perimeter. And we've had clients that have had just their standard ADT, and they've never really had anything beyond, sensor-based security. And so what we tell them is when you buy into Edgeworth, we're taking the concentric ring of security and we're taking it from the actual house and we're pulling it out to the perimeter. And then we're protecting the perimeter with cameras, but not just regular cameras with artificial intelligence behind the lens. So there's 11 or 12 different analytics that we could put behind the lens of the camera to where the cameras could recognize if somebody walks out of the house and walks out towards the perimeter, that's okay. It's not going to alert the command center. If they walk from the outer perimeter in, it can alert my guys in the center in Pittsburgh to abnormal activity or unusual activity. Okay. The cameras learn their environment, and then they also are teach by example type cameras. So my agents can teach the cameras what they're looking at and what they should be looking for. So we make those cameras really smart out on the perimeter of the client's house. And then we enhance that service with services that Chad provides. So for example, if a client has a known pursuer or a known stalker, Chad's group can do all the research on those folks and then provide that intel to the command center, who can then feed that into the system. So when the camera picks up a 5'8" white male who is known to be the description of a known pursuer, then the agent has a heads up that, we're looking for that. And then in our command center, all of the information that Chad's team provides them will populate in the center, so they know exactly what they're looking at.
So basically you can like bring the camera system in on like the kind of the BOLO situation. Like exactly. You have that person of interest, you put their stuff in there, and the camera is like another group of agents, another concentric ring that's in on, keeping a lookout for that individual or maybe that vehicle or any of that stuff.
And then if you have, awesome. This all started because, when you have a client who has 4 or 5 homes and they're paying for physical security at all 4 or 5 of those homes, it gets expensive really quickly. So taking the home where there's a threat to life or limb and putting the actual agents there, and then augmenting the other properties with the digital security stuff. One of the other things that we can do is if a client has an intruder or a known stalker, pursuer show up at their house, we can run that person in the system, and then we can find out if they've been to any of their other properties instantly.
So the all the cameras recognition software just pulls that up out of the database, and you essentially have like an investigation. You go on inside the system. You have all the data you need. Yeah, and
it's not true like bona fide like facial recognition, but it's more of an appearance search. But it's pretty damn good though.
Man, that's useful. I mean, that's really useful. That's awesome. And then from a security manager standpoint, it's just kind of like another quality layer. It's another tool. It's like, well, if I need to have guys here with the client, we still have contingencies and layers out there in different properties in different places, or even something to augment guys that, I might have at a property. It's just more than just cameras, because we all know, your standard cameras, guy sitting inside the CP, trying the best he can, on them cameras, God bless them. Yeah. Just God bless them.
We've all been there, and we know,
right?
we know that the attention span, you can only see so much at a time. So leveraging the use of analytics to do that work for you. Also, one of the things that we're finding, especially, sure, some high net worth clients, but on the commercial side, some of the marijuana grow operations, what we're learning is 80% or so of the theft in that industry comes from within. Right. And there's a certain percentage of it where the security team is in on the take or is part of the problem. Man. And so what people are looking at now is now you've got yes, we're a guardian angel for that security guard on site because we're watching, we're watching over him while he's patrolling around and we can alert him to different things. But we're also sort of a checks and balance to that as well, because my guys in the command center in Pittsburgh have no idea who that guy on the ground is. And so there's no way for those two to collaborate in the commission of a crime together. So that's lowering the amount of sort of internal theft in that industry. So any clients that we have in that space have been extremely happy with the services we're providing.
Solid. Yeah. More accountability. It's perfect. Yeah. It makes perfect sense. Yeah. So the cameras, that layer, you've got the artificial intelligence that really differentiates you from, the other guys that just basically they have analytics and they have some, different features, but those cameras having the artificial intelligence along with the monitoring center in Pittsburgh that's covering those cameras at all times is really kind of the value add. That's something I've never heard of. And that I think, do you have properties where you do clients just use your camera services and they don't have a man on property? How's that go? We've got folks that elect to go from sensor-based, like ADT type security systems to our system, and they've never had a guard. We've also had clients that are kind of tired of the guard. They're tired of sort of the price, because you and I both know that if you want somebody who's going to show up and be good, it can be expensive. I mean, you're talking up into the $60+ an hour range. And when they look at the initial sort of capital expense of getting Edgeworth, it can be, I've done jobs for $25,000 for a home to all the way up to $500,000 for a home, and everything in between. But once they get over that initial spend on the equipment and they realize they're now going from $60+ an hour down to, $6 to $10 an hour to have it monitored by AI fed into my command center. It's a huge savings. Usually after the 7 or 8 month mark, the equipment's paid for itself in savings. And in a lot of cases, they're getting a better solution and they're getting exactly what they need. And they're also lowering their liability as well. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That's solid. So I guess moving from is there anything else that we would need to know about the monitoring side of the house?
No, and I hope it doesn't sound too much like an infomercial for Edgeworth. I don't want it to sound like a commercial.
No, I don't think so either. I just, I think that it's a valuable tool. I think it's something that, we're all looking for answers to these equations, the reality of everything is that it's evolving. And this is this is just the reality of the game. There's stuff coming out to where we can do it better, and that's kind of, we can now do it better because of technology. And then you hit this weird spot, where you're like, well, I don't want to take anyone's job. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want guys, on the RSD to ever lose work in the industry. But then it's like, are we being, or do we have the right character if we're not bringing the best tools to bear to do the job, for our clients, and that starts to become more of the conversation in my opinion. Right. And then, I think the reality that now there's technology that can do some of these jobs better. It drives the people who are the best in the industry just to get better. So they stay away from the bottom where they get wiped out. And that's just the game. Things are getting outsourced overseas. You better become a manager. And that's that's the reality of all the games,
But also too, your clients, clients are smart enough to know. In fact, it's how I got into this because, one of my clients when I was at Gavin DeBecker had multiple properties, and he tasked me and my partner at the time with trying to figure out a solution that could lower the cost. And when we started discovering that you could leverage cameras with AI and machine learning and feed them all into one central location where there was a threat to life or limb, where you did need a guard, and they could monitor all those properties that are all over the country and internationally, and do it just as good as paying somebody to sit there and do it themselves. That was kind of how we got started. And then we realized like we could really scale this and keep going. So they're smart enough to know the technology out there exists. And if they task you with finding it, you better find it, or they'll find somebody who will.
That's the truth.
And then you'll all be looking,
No, that's the private sector right there. That's the private sector. What would you say would be the downside to this?
So the downside is that, that it's technology. That's the downside. So it's the upside and the downside. I mean, obviously if you had, what I always tell people is, my solution isn't necessarily for the person who is getting death threats or has had people climb their fence and sneak into their property with the intent to do harm to that client. Like, that's not what my system is good for, because when they hear us voice down through the speaker from Pittsburgh and they look around and say, I don't care, I'm motivated to get in that house and kill that person or have an encounter with that person, my system's not going to do anything there. What my system is really good for is for the publicly recognizable figure, the wealthy person, the athlete who everybody knows the travel schedule, and they might think like, okay, they're off playing a football game, I could go into their house because nobody's home. Worst case, I meet the wife or the girlfriend, but that's no problem. Random acts of sort of random targeted clients is what we're really good for. So the downside, again, if somebody was really trying to do a complex attack on one of our clients and they used, electromagnetic attack or cut cables or whatever, now we're going to know right away something's down, and we're going to let them know and maybe get a hold of the police and dispatch. But the upside is also the downside in some cases as well.
Right. Solid. Now, what would you say is your proudest moment in the field with this gear?
So some
smiles.
I know his answer is a good one.
Yeah, that's what's up.
When I was a Marine and the phone rang at 2 or 3 in the morning, it was never going to be anything good. But the first time as the CEO of Edgeworth, when my phone rang at about 4:30 in the morning, which would have been about 1:30 LA time, and it was one of my clients who, you would know, and she, what happened was they, both husband and wife are very famous folks. They had just sensor-based systems, and they lived in Beverly Hills. And they actually went on the record in the New York Times to talk about this for me because they were so proud of it. But they had a sensor-based system, 3 guys, hoods, everything, came over the fence late at night, pried the door open, got inside the house, and the husband had to come down with a baseball bat and chase him away. So he called me the next morning and said, hey, I want your system. Because we had talked about it. We're friendly, and I told him what I was doing, but he said he lived in Beverly Hills and would never need anything like that.
Nothing ever happened in Beverly Hills.
Just call me if you need it. And so we put in a full system, like no cost spared, put in top of the line, everything. One of the first clients to Edgeworth, and really we'd only been in existence for about 2 months. Same deal. But this time they weren't home. She was in Miami. He was in New York. 3 or 4 guys came over the wall. And within 6 minutes, my guys in Pittsburgh had them all arrested by the Beverly Hills Police Department.
Outstanding.
Yeah, arrested. They tried to get over the wall.
Arrested, not even scared away, but they got
and it's the first time. It's the first time in that area that the criminals have been caught in the act. And we learned a lot about their tactics too, because when we overlaid everything and put everything together, we realized that they're listening to radios with police dispatch. And when the police dispatcher, and again, it's all timelined and you can hear it for yourself, but when the police dispatcher said, this is a video verified alarm by a private security company, the response was as if it were a bank robbery. Because in LA, when an ADT style alarm goes off, 98% of those are false, and they don't have the resources to respond to every single one of them, nor do they have to.
Really?
So when
these guys are like,
yeah, I mean, they just know,
like
even if
deal.
Even if they come, we got 15 or 20 minutes before they show up. So let's get everything we can.
Yeah.
And the minute they were just about to put the ladder to the the balcony leading to the closet where they could get all the valuable, items. And that's when they realized dispatch had the cops with an ETA of 1 minute, and they dropped everything. They dropped the ladder. They never made it into the house. They were climbing over the wall. As soon as they hit the ground on the other side, cops rolled them up. We sent them 4K images of all the suspects, and they were able to charge them right there and bring them to jail. So
outstanding. From vacation or wherever they were. That's good, man.
And as you know, in that world, word of mouth is everything. So that really, really, helped me out. And obviously couldn't have been more proud of the agents that were on duty. And by the way, some of them, no military or law enforcement experience, but, real strong customer service suit, and they knew it didn't look right, and they immediately did what they were supposed to do, and everything is scripted out, and they did it perfectly. So,
man, that's awesome. No, that's fantastic. No military law enforcement experience. I got a lot of respect for civilians that choose to play this game and apply themselves and stinking cut their teeth doing what we're doing now. Some of the best, most focused guys I work with. Yeah,
and what we're seeing is a lot of these folks, they thought they wanted to be cops, but then they realized, that's pretty tough these days. Yeah. And they realize that they can come and make a difference. And we're even getting, we're getting cops that are deciding like, well, one, we pay probably a little bit more in some cases, and they're not getting shot at, and they're getting treated well. Right. So we're getting cops that are leaving being cops to come do what we do. We're getting folks that were criminal justice majors right out of college that want to do what we do. And I'm happy to have all of them. In fact, when I built the company, I thought for sure I only wanted police and military. And this guy who never served but had helped build a couple command centers, he said, "Hey, Ken, you should really think about this, and you should really think about having a good mix. Get some customer service experts, get some cops, get some military, and they'll all feed off of each other, and they'll all become better because of it." It was one of the best pieces of advice I could have gotten.
Yeah. No, that's wisdom. That's absolutely wisdom. That's good to go. I can't say enough about that. That's good stuff. That's an awesome story, though. That's a grand slam. And I know that was like the dinner party conversation in all the right circles for a while, for a little bit. Well, that's solid.
And I'm also, I want Chad to tell Chad and his team have done some amazing work too. But I will say that there has not been the call, and maybe it comes, maybe it doesn't. I hope to God it doesn't. But I have not gotten the call that says, "Hey, we just got home and our house is ransacked and we have you. Where were you?" So I'm really proud of the team. I mean, in our game and your game, we're all playing the same game. You got to bat 1,000. You
absolutely have to.
And it doesn't matter if you did 600 great things. If something, even that client that I just told you the story of, if their house gets robbed tonight, they're not going to be. It's okay. You're 1 for 1. You're 1 for 2. We're good. And that's, as well as I do. That's not the way that conversation goes.
Absolutely. It's like combat. You just got to be right. You got to be as right as you can be every single time,
And it is hard, but I have some great folks that are on the team.
Yeah, no, and the team is what makes the whole entire difference, man. I always get a little disappointed when people, I don't know, sometimes I think people get the wrong idea about me. Sometimes I think that I don't know, they think I'm the man, and I'm like, look, man, like I'm just one dude. Like I am only as good as my team. The team is where the whole entire game is. In fact, if I was going to say the one thing I'm good at, it's at building a team. I can do the advance, I can be with the client, I can do all that stuff. But when I get to a new environment, the one thing I focus on is culture, the team culture, cooperation over competition. Everyone needs to understand that if we can protect each other, cover each other, build each other up, everyone eats better, everyone's life's better, everything's better. You know what I'm saying? So we just get it from the Marine Corps, so I don't know. When I hear you guys saying that stuff, it's just, that's the right stuff, man. It means everything. Heck, to me anyway,
Now, so when you're used to transactional relationships and you've done well enough over the years where you've put enough money in the bank with all these different relationships, figuratively speaking, but you kind of take pride in stepping up when something goes wrong and say, "Hey, that's on me. I'll take that." And pushing the compliments to the team and just saying, "Hey, 100%. That had nothing to do with that one. That was Chad and his team, or Bernard and his team." And I take great pleasure in doing that, just because I don't need it at this point, and it's the right thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. It's good leadership. When the client can't find a way to put a compliment on one specific person because everyone's like, that was Jeff, and all the team just, and then they kind of they understand. They're like, wow, I've got a good team. These guys take care of each other, and that keeps everybody healthy, man. That's the way to do it. That's good to go. So I guess switching gears a little bit into the kind of back into the spooky web stuff and the open source stuff that I think a lot of people in this industry are really just starting to wrap their mind around. How does that layer play in with this, with the surveillance layer and everything else, or how would you break into that?
Yeah. So to me, this is one of the awesome things about Edgeworth, right? Because you've got this amazing technology in the cameras. You have a command center supporting those cameras and those customers. And now you add an intelligence business process to that as well. And it works both, before and after any incident may occur at a customer property, that we happen to be supporting. Some great examples of that could be, a vehicle pulls up to the gate, security, we see it on cameras, we capture the plate. Because it's all the same company, that command center director can call me on my cell phone and be like, hey, Chad, run this plate for me right now. Yep, on it. Here's the plate. Here's the owner. Here's where he lives. Here's his criminal record. Here's everything you need to know right now in the moment, right? And we can make that happen very, very, very fast. We've had situations come in where we have just been able to turn around very, very quickly, just crucial pieces of information to support the on-ground effort, whether it's our EP team or our cameras, whatever it happens to be. And then, supporting that effort on the front end could be something to the extent like, hey, here's a stalker or a harasser or somebody, of interest to the customer, whatever it happens to be. We can provide all of that up front to the customer, to the EP teams, to the camera team, because it's all happening in-house. We work, there's a great synergy there that it's just lost. We do great work with partners as well. But you feel it when it's all internal to Edgeworth. It's just a very fast, synergetic process that what I feel is one of the awesome things. Going back to the Marine Corps, everything just lines up. All the gears clink together, and it's just a great machine. And the way we built kind of the intelligence service here is it's meant to work with the remote guard services, right?
Okay.
If you think about like EP and the cameras, those are meant to identify and mitigate a threat as it's taking place at the property or around the customer. When you build intelligence into that, we're there to identify those threats and risks before they get to the property or the customer. When we have a customer that's being supported by our intelligence services, we're out there constantly, right? We're out there looking for security threats and risks. And, that could be anything from physical threat and risk, like a harasser or a stalker, but it could also be like, somebody pulls up Instagram, be like, hey, I'm at, so-and-so's house and I see smoke coming from a wall on the side of the house. We can immediately collect that and report that to our customer or to law enforcement or to the camera team, let them know, hey, we're seeing reports of activity at this portion of the house. Here's the video, here's the images. All those kind of things come into play. And, what makes open source intelligence so valuable is now when something happens out there in the world, before people are calling law enforcement, before they're calling the fire department, they're pulling out their phones. They're posting Facebook, right? We're becoming that first line of information.
That's wild. That's a concept.
When there's an active shooter or something going on, we're out there. We're immediately identifying that information for our customers in a real-time scenario. And due to the technology we use, we're able to walk them directly into that scenario, letting them know everything we're seeing, who's involved, what it consists of. And that allows them to bring a proper response. If, we support large scale sports venues, entertainment venues and stuff like that. There may be somebody in the stadium or the crowd that's causing a problem and they need to get security over there. We can help them identify, do they need to send a team of security or can they just send one guy over there to, very quietly and politely talk to, whatever the situation is and get it resolved in that kind of way. So that's kind of how we can play into everything we have set up at Edgeworth on, kind of the remote monitoring side. Now, also, we are a completely independent business line as well. And, kind of like I mentioned a little bit earlier, when you're talking about millions of people posting billions of pieces of content online,
it's like unfathomable. Like it's unfathomable.
The amount of data and information out there is it's crazy. Yeah. Right? And so our ability to go out there, identify that data, bring it back and provide it to our customer in a understandable and actionable way, right? There's extreme value in that. And because of the amount of information that's out there, it is guaranteed there is something out there of value to everyone. Tell me what you're interested are. Right. Yeah. We've done work for customers who are multi-billion-dollar companies, and they are into the acquisition of other companies. They've come to us and had us vent those companies before they go into like finalized talks of acquiring that company. If you really want to know about a company, find out what their employees are saying about them. Let's take a look at that executive kind of staff of that company. Let's see how they live their lives. Let's see how people refer to them, what people have posted and talked about them online. Do you really want to get to know somebody or an entity or anything like that? Let us tell you how they exist online, because people will say and do things online they would never do in life, right?
It's almost like they think they're alone or something. Like they think they're behind closed doors or something. And you're like,
yeah, man. They think there's like this anonymity to the technology where they can just say and do whatever they want. Nobody will track it back to them, and we're out there, man. And we're identifying these key pieces of critical information to our customers, and we're pulling it back. And, our job is to do that before there's an incident, before there's a decision or a process that they have to go back and make correction on later. The more information we can provide to our customers up front, enabling them to make actionable decisions and then be successful on those decisions, right? And, when we kind of talk about, okay, well, what kind of data is that, right? Yeah. How are our customers applying this out in the industry?
What does that mean to like the normal person? You know what I'm saying? Data, actionable. Okay. But like, what does this look like?
Yeah. So we're going out there, right? We're looking for information. We're looking for those physical threat kind of risk scenarios. We can help our customers identify monetary risk or loss. We have a very high net worth, high public profile customers, 2 of them. And they have their own kind of online e-commerce industry as well as tangible industry out there. They do clothing lines and makeup lines and stuff. We were able to go out and show them this entire black market industry of their goods and wares, the percentage of revenue loss that they are experiencing because how it's being moved in traffic, how they are committing like the production of these counterfeit goods, where it's being sold, how it's getting moved. Everybody knows when you get to a certain extent, like Nike knows their stuff is being counterfeit and sold somewhere, right?
Right.
You go to a foreign country, it's being sold all over. Yeah, but do they understand like how much revenue that accounts for, right? Do they understand where is it being made? Where is it being kept? And overseas, international, there's not a whole lot they're going to do about it, but now they understand, right? And when we start kind of monitoring, and this is another great thing about intelligence, is when we go out looking for one thing, we're going to find hundreds of other things. And so we help to provide that to our customers as well. So, things like market research, strategy, brand awareness. If, one of our customers is getting ready to release a new product, a new phone, a new shoe, whatever it happens to be.
Song or whatever.
Yeah, we can go out there and gauge the sentiment of the general public in whole. How are they responding to this? What are they saying about the design or the colors or the, the lyrics to the song? How do people feel? What groups are concerned about it? Who has issues? Then we can go back to our customer and say, this is where you're doing really well. This is where you're not doing well, and allow them to adjust course before they do this launch, right? And so, just that market awareness, public sentiment, if you look at like the Hollywood industry, the professional sports industry, all those kind of things, the professional sports industry is putting millions and millions and millions of dollars into their new athletes, right? And now, with the age demographic of the athletes coming into the professional sports, their entire life exists online, right? Like
100%.
The 3 of us, like we didn't exist online till maybe our mid 20s to early 30s, right? And thank God.
And it was like weird at first, like we were like, and thank God is right. I still had to go back and scrub some stuff.
That's right. And now this younger demographic, unfortunately, like they've existed online their entire lives, and it starts with their parents. Their parents are posting all their information, their data out there, So mad at my son today, he just got arrested for shoplifting, right?
Yeah.
Like it's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so now there's this huge public relations risk. I mean, we saw it with Kevin Hart, and we've seen it with like all of, this talent out there across every possible industry. And we can help our customers go out and identify what those risks are around, the talent and the staff that they're looking to do business with, and kind of help them identify, okay, what is the risk? How do we acknowledge? How do we make it right now? How do we bring it to public focus so it's not an issue later, right? How do we correct whatever it was that happened, help this individual be and become, or at least acknowledge that they're a better person now? So one of the great things we've done is we've partnered with a PR firm out of Hollywood. And, it's, again, taking the industry in a whole new way that's never existed before. And we are working with them and like every major Hollywood studio, every major talent industry out there in the Hollywood kind of arena. And we're helping them with all these things, with this public sentiment, with, general public response to situations and individuals, and the newest TMZ story, all those kind of things. We're really helping our customers deal in a digital realm of just available information. And
interesting.
It's so easy, right? It's so easy to find that. Like,
to me, it sounds like voodoo, man. It sounds like straight voodoo. You were talking, and I'm just like, this sounds like a whole nother, it's touching. It's really, it's like touching security, but it's like another type of reconnaissance, It's really
that's exactly, you're exactly right, man. And, it's when we bring customers usually come to us because they don't know what else to do. They have an issue, or an issue is coming full bore and they don't know how to deal with it. We've had customers come to us who they've gone to the police. They've worked with a lawyer. Nobody knows what to do. What's the next step, right? And they come to us and we solve those problems for them. We do the collection, the way that we identify our information. We adhere to all the usage and terms of every data source we collect from. We're very ethical. We don't hack. We don't use viruses or clickbait, anything like that. But there's a reason behind it, right? Because our customers need resolution in whatever their problem is. And the way we bring that to our customers is we deliver an intelligence product that is 100% usable by law enforcement or any type of legal authority at that point. Meaning, we pull out our intelligence package, we hand it over. I have gone with customers into the LAPD and sat down with the detectives and been like, all right, here's what we have. Here's the evidentiary discovery process. Here's the chain of custody process. Here's how you rediscover everything. Because to them, it's a slam dunk, right? When they get a high net worth, high public profile individual and they're able to open and close the case and prosecute immediately, that's an instant win for them. They didn't have to do a thing, right?
And you get to keep what you killed because it's clean.
That's right. That's right.
Awesome.
And word spreads. And word spreads. And the next time somebody's got a problem and they don't know what to do, they're like, listen, you need to call Ken and Chad at Edgeworth and make this happen. And, a lot of this kind of building on that is the unknown. What is the out there? How are we at risk? What should I know and what should I didn't know? And, Ken truly believes in the philanthropy or the kind of human service of this as well. So we do lectures. We go out, we talk to kids in schools, all the way from elementary, middle, and high school to college. We talk to parents. We let parents know, this is how your kids are targeted. This is how people look to take advantage of your kids. Here are your rights as a parent. Here are your responsibilities as a parent. Most of them don't know. It is guaranteed by the time we're done with our lectures for like kids and the parents and the adult community, they're like, I had no idea. Like they're scared. And that's where we want them to be, right? We want them to leave
some awareness to it.
Scared. Like, I didn't know this. But now they have the tools, right? They have the knowledge. They can go out there. They can secure themselves. They can secure their kids. And that's another great thing we do for our customers as well, is not only do we know how to identify, go out and get the information, we help remove our customers' information as well.
So we go out. Next question.
Awesome. Yeah, we identify, what we call their personally identifiable information, so PII data. These are things like their names, their date of birth, their social security numbers, their addresses, their kids' names, where they go to school, like all this kind of stuff. And we work with the data service providers to get that information removed. And we're Ken doesn't like to use absolutes like 99 or 100% effective. I'll just say we're 90% or more effective.
In the spirit of humility, I'm just going to say 90%.
You know what happens if you say you're like 99.9%.
Murphy comes from downtown. Murphy comes off the ropes.
That's right. That's right.
We don't need that. We don't need that happening. So we're just going to say 90 or something.
Okay. Good to go.
We're able to do this in a perpetual state of motion where it's 24/7 because of the tools, right? So our tools are constantly out there. So when my analysts, when something comes back on a positive return, it pings the analyst. They're able to immediately look at it and be like, we need to know this right now. A great example of this is one of our customers who is a very famous NFL player.
Yeah.
We were just doing standard monitoring services for him 24/7, just on a subscription basis. And we actually found his girlfriend's Gmail and password in a dark web data dump. And it just popped up. Within 3 minutes of it popping up, I had him on the phone. We were talking to him. He's verifying with her. Yes, that is her current password to her Gmail account that she uses for everything, right?
Oh, and like they have the Grand Slam password, like the one she's had forever. Oh man.
And so, and she's very famous. So I'm sure the second somebody would have seen that, her data and information would have been compromised immediately. And then the cleanup from there, if you've ever dealt with identity theft or something to that extent, it's a mess. It's extremely difficult and it takes a long time. It's very frustrating, but we were able to immediately circumvent that so it didn't become a problem for them. And this happens every day. You would be amazed at the frequency, not to name names, that email providers get hacked. Just all the time.
These big ones that everyone thinks are
huge. I mean, if you look at it, like, Bank of America got hacked a couple years ago. Target got hacked a couple years ago. This is national news. And they're talking like customer information, credit cards, stuff like that. So it's happening all the time. And they go into these dark web data dumps to make this information available. And, they, due to the nature of the dark web and how these sites work, they change their URLs like daily. And so unless you're kind of in the know and you're part of that community and you're able to track those data dumps through time, you can miss stuff, right? And that's the benefit of having our analytical team stacked on top of the intelligence suite of tools, because the suite of tools can't do that, but our analysts can. And our analysts are amazing. They're very young. We've recruited them very young because they've grown up inherently with the internet and technology. Right. They understand it like the three of us never will, right?
Yeah.
I can talk business. To them. Yeah, man, that's right. And I mean, I always joke with Ken, like, the new girlfriends scoping out all the ex-girlfriends. They are the best online investigators in the entire world, right? And
yes. So good.
And that's kind of that's kind of the professionalism and the process we bring to bear. They're very smart. They're all very kind of uniquely specialized in their own, in different types of, online kind of vehicles, social media, Reddit, 4chan, dark web, all those kind of things. But, you bring them together as a team and they're killer, man. They're brutal and they're so efficient and fast.
That's what I'm talking about. And this is exactly why I wanted to talk with you guys, is as anyone who's as a security manager or as a detail leader, it's like, all right, sweet. Well, I know stuff's going on out there on the internet, out there in the interwebs. I know there's stuff going on, like,
that's right.
How do I manage this, this chaos, really, this unknown, space? And how do I stay proactive in relationship to it? How do I conduct any type of offensive security operations, even things as simple as, weird DMs or people saying weird things online. It's like, well, what can a security, an agent do or a provider do to be able to become offensive about that? If you can't figure out who the person is behind the handle and chase any of that information down, so it's, people can kind of take pop shots at you, destabilize your client a little bit, and then your clients will be looking at you for answers. And so, I'm glad you guys get to kind of share all these tools. And you mentioned, Ken, you're like, I don't want it to sound like an infomercial, but I'm like, I think it's so important that we understand these tools are available, man. So I love it. What would you say is your proudest on the intelligence side? What would be your guys' proudest moment you can talk about where you helped a client?
Yeah, that's a great question, man. We've got so many that,
I think the complete identity theft with the lockout and the recovery within, you can talk, talk about that one. That was really good.
Yeah. So we had a customer who, they experienced identity theft to the extent that social media accounts were hacked. It was a minor. So, the parent, who's been a longtime customer and friend of Edgeworth, reached out to us directly and just said, listen, my daughter's account just got hacked. She's got all of her photos in there. She's starting her career, on kind of social media and all this kind of stuff. And he didn't know what to do. He didn't know how to do it. He didn't know how to make it happen in order to mitigate damages as quickly as possible. And put his daughter at ease. When you're a dad and you've got a 15-year-old daughter who's
distraught. Just dying because her social media world.
She lost her Instagram and her Snapchat.
Yeah. And because of who we are and what we do, we were immediately able to send off emails to security directors in positions at these social media companies, letting them know this has transpired, getting these accounts back, identifying what's been lost, helping the customer engage in law enforcement, helping the customer identify who the individual was that, pulled this out against them. And, sometimes it's, those overseas, clickbaits that they fall victim to. Yeah. Sometimes it's a personal attack, and, we're really good at identifying, what the risk is, where it came from, and helping our customers decide where to go from there. Okay. And that was very recent. The dad in this case, he's a huge star, and he has just been so just humble, and just, you guys, you've said,
thank you,
overly expressing, just his thanks and his gratitude for us for doing that. And that's so fulfilling in its own, to be able to help our customers in that. And Ken and I talk about this all the time. Sometimes it's just about doing the right thing. And figure everything else out later. Let's get people taken care of. And
right.
We worked another case where this girl was just being relentlessly stalked, harassed, threatened. He was posting pictures online of murdered bodies, saying, this is going to be you, this is going to be you. And this was a case where she had gone to law enforcement, and she's a pretty high level star as well. And they were like, we don't, obviously there's a threat. We took a look, we can't identify who he is. Just keep us posted if anything new comes in. And, so she was referred to Ken, and, Ken got me on the phone, and we spoke to her about it. Within a day, we knew who this guy was. We knew where he was living. We were able to geolocate him. We were able to identify multiple warrants across multiple states in his name, where he had skipped bail and stuff to that effect. He had a couple bench warrants. He actually fled up to Alaska, and, this was California. And by the time we were done with our investigation, and we walked into the detective office there at the LAPD with the customer and sat down and went over everything, they actually processed a warrant for him with extradition, meaning they were paying to bring him back, which is huge. From the EP world, it's real easy to get a law enforcement entity to issue a bench warrant. To get them to do it with extradition, we were able to show, just without any doubt, this is the guy. He represents an immediate physical threat to this individual, and they were able to take care of that. So that was, that's small huge, victories, man. Big victories all along the way, man.
Yeah, no, that's huge. That's awesome. Because you never know who you're dealing with on the other side of some of these things, or it's just hard to figure out who you're dealing with on the other side of some of these things. I've been with some companies that have had a tough time figuring that piece out, and I've been like, well, we got to figure this out. So that's awesome. Would you say downside to this product?
Downside to it? Is that what you said?
Yeah. I just gotta.
Technology is always changing, so you always have to stay on top of it. It's exactly like antivirus software. It's only as good as the virus that's known that day, right? It can't protect you against the virus that comes out tomorrow. Right. And the people who are dangerous online, the people who are pulling off large scale, serious crimes, attacks, threatening people, they're good. They 90% of the time, they really know what they're doing. And so being able to become innovative in this workspace and this business line, to see where things are going, not having a predetermined solution, but being able to figure that out and provide one, along the way to meet our customers' needs. And they don't have weeks and months for us to come out with a process, right? We've got to do it fast. We have to do it legally. And we've got to do it in a way that whatever the investigation or the data requirement is that proves a solve for that. And it's hard. So that's very challenging. It's also not cheap, right? I mean, we're talking labor, we're talking technology, we're talking development. So, trying to, right now we're a very boutique offering, to a kind of set clientele. And we've helped tons of people that fall outside of that, but being able to develop a business line and a service from a business perspective, continues to generate revenue at a large scale while covering business costs. That was our growth challenge, right? And we're just now overcoming that. And so now we're starting to build past that, which is good. But that's a testament to the fact that we've got the right people on the team at Edgeworth. We've got the right management, got the right staff, got the right tools.
Heck yeah, that's what's up. What would you say is your primary kind of demographic that you guys service a lot? What's like your wheelhouse?
Man, is it
just diverse?
You're gonna hate this answer. It's the world. It really is, and that's not like a bullshit like catchy kind of thing. We
serve the world. No. But true, you guys are good dudes. Yeah.
I mean, whether it's preventative intelligence, whether it's post-incident intelligence, or whether it's live intelligence, right? We support a huge number of customers where they run live events like concerts, NFL games, political, tours across the U.S. And we are live, actively engaging in intelligence collection and provision of information to our customers while they are performing whatever it is they happen to be doing that's of interest, right? So, we're covering like area of interest, AOI intelligence. We're covering known individuals of interest that are threats and risks. We're monitoring social media as it's being posted at these events, as people are talking about it. It's crazy, man. We can service the world, and it really comes down to, is what you are getting in information worth the cost that you have to pay, right? And
that really honestly is, because I've seen a lot of these products where I'm like, but I mean, like, do I need to know this? You know what I mean? Like, where's all the money I'm paying? I mean, I got these couple, we could probably deal with most of this, how does this make me more efficient in the field? How does this make my client safer? Is my client feeling like they're getting their money's worth when I give them this information? Or are they looking at me like, this is really cool, Byron, but like this cost, this is costing me money,
Well, think about it like this, man. So we were supporting a large scale effort for, we'll just call it a political tour. And while these individuals were on tour, we started identifying an individual of interest who was posting online. He's saying, today's a great day to kill this, piece of shit, POS individual, hate him, can't stand him. History of talking about this individual, wants him dead, wants to kill him. Today's a great day to do it, right? So we're persistently monitoring this individual. Next collection we get is him driving in his car, taking a photo of him holding a pistol in his passenger seat, right?
Time to go.
Immediately, we're able to identify him, the vehicle, the gun, pass information directly to the EP team on the ground with a photo, vehicle description, everything they need.
Everything.
Able to immediately identify and take him into custody, but before he even got close, right? And so sometimes nothing happens, and you just have intelligence collection running, and you're reporting like, hey, you got traffic coming up. You may want to take a detour. You may want to, go to this AOI, something like that. Sometimes it's a guy with a gun on his way to that event, right? So it's like I tell you what, man, our customers who run like a year contract with us where we're doing persistent collection for the year, maybe 3 or 4 months, nothing of significant interest occurs, but that's why we're monitoring for physical threats and risks. We're also monitoring for public sentiment. We're also, monitoring for monetary risk or loss. We're also monitoring for all this other scale of stuff. So we're always providing information. It's not always the sexy, cool, here's the bad guy, he's incoming, here's his photo, right? But it's always value. It's persistent value every month. And when we do get that big one, when,
we're glad you got that big
you're
one.
in paid for right there, right? When you're talking $1 million events or $1 billion industry, stopping that one thing, in a year's time is worth it.
or stopping it before, someone has to press the flesh or do anything else.
That's right, man.
Before it even gets another ring, another layer.
Yeah. Yeah. One of our current customers, I'm sending them, emails, every 3 weeks, once a month. I'm like, hey, this individual, they run a sporting facility. And this individual's like, F this, I'm going to show up there. I'm bombing the place right now. I'm sick and tired of them. So we pull this dude's information down, who he is, where he lives with his parents. Here's his phone number. Here's his car. Here's his license plate. All they do is they call the local police department. Police immediately show up and question them every time. And they're always like, oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I didn't mean to.
I was getting emotional. I was at time. All right, dude. Yeah, okay, right. Just stay home.
And then their next post is, hey, sorry about that. I was just joking. You can't really say that stuff anymore.
Right?
Yeah, that actually happened. Yeah. So one guy we reported on, he posted and he was like, hey, just want to say sorry. The cops just came by. They were great. They did their job. But, maybe 99 times it's just, somebody running their mouth. But that one time it isn't. Right. Well,
and that's the world we live in. That's security, someone's walking up, and if you're not ready every single time, it'll be the time, you're not ready. It won't just be someone who wants an autograph, it'll be someone who wants to humiliate or cause damage or do something weird, that's the game. It's good to have that awareness, and that I'd like to call it the digital realm, in that other world, where things are happening. That's awesome. So I guess in closing, what other directions you guys see the company going in, or are you guys just perfecting what you have now, or where are you guys at with regards to moving into this next year?
I kind of always say to myself, distractions are free, but they cost a lot of money. So I want to try to stay focused on the core of what we do. So Chad and his team is kind of a core piece of it. The remote video monitoring is a core piece. And then for just a handful of select clients, we do like a boutique offering of executive protection type stuff. But I really am focused on kind of changing the security landscape by leveraging the technology. That's the core of what we're doing right now.
Yeah. And that's what's coming. That's what's coming in a lot of areas. I think we're really going to find out what things can be done better by or with technology in a very intense way over the next few years. And the things that can't be done as well by and with technology, those humans are going to get compensated very well, and they're going to really solidify their positions. And it's just a technological evolution that's just happening in every market and every industry, So it's good to be the tip of the spear with that, man. I'm glad we're connected for sure.
You don't always have to be, the one who knows everything and can do everything. Knowing the industry and the partners, I think that's something we do great at Edgeworth. Is we are partnered with technology leading revolutionary companies who are masters of this bit, right? So in the open source intelligence realm, we can be masters of this, and we know who are the masters of these other services we can bring to bear for a complete package to our customers. So I think, we don't have to know it all, but we work great with companies who can bring in those additional pieces.
100%, man. Those C students hire A students. We all, a rising tide lifts all ships at sea. That's the way I say it nowadays. So it's more palatable, but I remember hearing a quote a while back, when Google was blowing up. It's not about just what you can do and all the information you can hold in your head anymore. It's about how effectively you can leverage the tools at your disposal now. Yeah. And that's when I started really being like, yo, this team sport thing is a big thing. That's really the game. I ain't never going to be the biggest, the baddest, or the best. I'm 5'10", 5'11" with church shoes on, So, we got to get the right people around and, play your position well, man. That's outstanding. Favorite quote, mantra you guys got?
Mine, especially on the executive protection side, is how you do one thing is how you do everything. And I know it's very cliche and everybody probably uses it, but in this industry, it's just so true. You got the guy or the gal who always wants to do the right thing when the client's standing right there. They want to be the hero. I'm telling you, man, the way that I made a name for myself is in everything that I've done is you do it to that standard no matter what. whether it's like 1 a.m. and you're on a residential team and you're doing your robes with your flashlight, getting hit with spider webs, you do it like the client's walking with you. And everything is done to that standard. The way you do that one thing is the way you do everything. And I think that in this industry, especially this industry, it goes a long way.
Yeah. It's the guy who's doing it that way because of his name's on it. That's the guy I'm stinking looking for, man. You could be the coolest, used to be special, every forces, Jedi, ninja, Gaiden, whatever, but if you just have that sense of personal pride, the healthy ego to where you're like, no, I'm here. I'm going to do this to the best of my ability. I can work with you. We can teach you tactics. So the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. And that, I think that I really hope everyone listening really hears that, because that goes down to everything from the emails, the text messages, all of it. Because I notice the same thing when I deal with people as well. I'm like, okay, the way that all of these things are happening is at least the level I can expect everything to degrade to after honeymoon phase is over.
Yeah, that's right. That's it. When somebody says to me, hey, what do you think of so-and-so? And I'm like, well, they've only been here for, a month. I don't know yet. Yeah. Because once they're, over the fact that they got this job that they wanted and they're on this great protection detail, or they're working in a command center or doing side, whatever it is, and then you see how they perform. I'm not going to judge somebody in the first month or two. Give me 6 months of sustained performance, and I'll tell you what I think.
That's the representative. That's who you got right there. That's still the representative. Yeah. That's what's up.
Yeah.
How, I guess this one would be for you, Ken. How do you guys as a company want to be remembered?
Just the company that maybe sort of changed the way people look at private security. Okay. Because I think that, right now you've got the guy who is at the airport or in the warehouse or in the public space of the mall with the disheveled uniform, doesn't give a shit, didn't shine his shoes, didn't check the batteries in his flashlight. You got that guy. And then you've got like the high end stuff like AS and Gavin DeBecker and what we do. And, that looks squared away. You see them on the internet with their pins and everything is perfect. And there's nothing in between, right? So we want to be the company that figured out a way to come into the middle, and we're certainly not these people over here. And it doesn't have to be this all the way over here. It can be right down the middle, and it can be this perfect solution that's cost effective, works, leverages technology, and is going to be a solid solution for folks. So just coming in and sort of changing the landscape of private security. That was my mission and my goal when I started, and I hope that's what I'm remembered for.
Yeah. Heck yeah. No, I totally align with that, man. Cause for me, I don't know. I felt like when I came into the game, everything was like, it was just silent. It was too cool for school. It was like, hey man, how do you do this? And they were just like, everyone's keeping everything close to their chest. And I was like, yeah, I guess I got to figure it out for myself. Like, you've been doing this forever. Like, can you help, like, give me some pointer? Like, when everybody was just like, everything was so close to the chest. And I was like, I don't know, man, I got to change this. I just was like, if I ever get to a point where I have, this information, or like, how can I make the commerce of information in this industry something that is everyone has access to, so we can all be better and serve our clients better and change that image you were talking about of, I got this knuckle dragger, I got this schmuck here, I got to drag around, because it's dishonorable to all of us, and it makes all of us, the value of our service goes down, the way we're looked at goes down, our experience at work goes down. And so it was like, how can, we help contribute to a better industry? And that's what this is. And that's what all this stuff is. So I really appreciate you trying to kind of make that impact and improve, get away from that, some of those negative images that unfortunately we got to deal with, but we have the right guys here to do it. So heck yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Chad and Ken, you guys have a habit that you'd suggest for the crowd that you think would help them, be better people, better protectors, or something they should look at on or off the job?
For sure.
I mean, for me, Chad, you go ahead first.
Yeah, I think this stands for our company as a whole. When the customer calls, we answer. whether it's 1 a.m., whether it's a weekend or a holiday. You know, Ken is not above calling me on Christmas Eve and getting to work on a customer project because they've got a problem and they're coming to us because they need help. And, you know, problems aren't always convenient. So when the customer calls, we answer, and that's the bottom line.
100%, man. I think that's such a professionalism. There is no good excuse. Because I have an issue right now with great dude that I have worked with. And, you know, it's just one of the things where I'm like, dude, you got to answer this phone. It doesn't matter what you're doing. Like, you got to be Superman. Like, if they call you, if anyone on the team actually calls you, you know, like, we're a web and we are a network of people who are depending on each other, and you got to hold your stinking shield, you know, not to jump on the coattails of everything you guys are saying. It's just, it's motivating. It's the stuff that good agents, these ideas and these values, you know, I answer my phone, I come through for my clients, I make plays for my clients. If I got to drive them to another state tonight because the private jet couldn't get off the ground because of COVID, you know, just grounded us. We got to get it done. We're going to get it done. Maybe it's a marine thing. I don't know, but we're going to get it done.
I had a guy.
It's not my job.
Yeah, it's not your job. Okay, we'll find someone who wants the job.
That's right.
I had a guy on a protection detail, and you know, he thought because like, you know, he was scheduled to be off that he was going to be off, and you know, he said he was going to turn his phone off and don't bother him. And so I told my HR guy, we're getting rid of him. And he said, well, you can't do that. You'll get sued. And I said, well, then talk to finance and figure out how much money we need to put in the budget for lawsuits, because they're not working for me. I mean, if you want to get in this industry, then, and I say it because I'm not somebody who just got pulled in from another company and said, hey, you're going to run this company. I've done it. Yeah. I've done the residential things. I've done the field things. I've missed the meals. I've worked the 18-hour days to get up to do another 18-hour day. There is not anything in this industry that I haven't done that I'm asking anybody on my team to do. So if you want to work for me, you're gonna do it, and you're gonna do it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got a great story for you if you want, Byron, on that.
Send it.
So Ken was on a private plane flight, and he was sharing it with two, you know, high net worth individuals.
Right.
But one was a direct customer. The other was just happened to be on that flight as a courtesy. Right. Just start talking to Ken about a problem he has. Ken calls me
customer
flight. It was like a Saturday night at like 10 p.m. Within, what was it, Ken? It was like 9 minutes. Had the entire team online. The tools were working. And before they landed, we had a complete report for Ken and that individual. And they weren't even a customer. Well, they became afterwards. But yeah.
Because that's how you get customers. Heck yeah.
That's how you do it. You got to hustle.
Yeah, man. And if you got the backgrounds, you know, that we got, I don't know, like if you've been around the block and you've done some things, ain't nobody asking us to do anything as hard as the stuff that we come from. You know what I mean? Like, and, you know, I get to shower every single day, you know, like, I got to try not to be fat. Like, you know,
this is about as tough as it gets.
Right. You know, it's like, come on, man, you know? So that's awesome stuff. Good to go. Answer the phone. Awesome. Well, what are you guys up to these days? Where can people find you? You know, last question.
Well, we got a website, edgeworthsecurity.com. You know, we've got all the social media stuff. We've got a great marketing team that puts out, you know, informational clips and videos and stuff. So you can find it all on the website.
Sweet. Good to go. All right. Well, then you guys will send us all the links. We'll have that all in the write-up. And man, I just want to thank you guys for spending this time with me. You know, all you guys out there that are putting details together or trying to figure out how to serve your clients better. You know, if you want a government agency level, you know, layer of protection and another layer of, you know, of cameras and everything else that can keep an eye on your operation and give you more peace of mind. Because we all know, you know, you got guys out in the field right now. You got that little bit of pucker factor. At any moment you get a call, you know. Another layer of protection, I think, is what we'll call this one. Then Edgeworth, I think, are the guys that you really should go ahead and talk to. So that's awesome, gentlemen. Thanks so much, Ken and Chad, for this time. It's an honor.
Yeah, thanks, brother.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Have a good weekend.
Yeah, 100%. All right, you guys have a good one as well.
All right. Boom. Thanks, Byron.
Yo, if you're a private security professional wanting to take your game to the next level, go to executiveprotectiontrainingday.com to check out my personal success package for private security professionals. Check it out, executiveprotectiontrainingday.com. And remember, y'all, hard skills do save lives, but soft skills get you paid. Boom. Boom. And to support this podcast, go to executiveprotectionlifestyle.com and contribute to our Patreon account. That Patreon account is what helps me make this podcast possible, contributing to this brand, what we're doing here, making it so that I can bring better guests on, making it so that we can plan more events and just expand the contribution to the private security industry, and also to making America a safer place. Do whatever you can, contribute whatever you can, because it makes all of these things possible. Thanks for those contributions. Yo, and before we go, I got a shout out to the sponsors, starting out with Primary Weapon Systems, PWS. They truly are the evolution of the rifle. Use Byron for 10% off. Grayman & Company, the most comfortable tactical suits in the game. Use Byron for 10% off with them. Ballistic Theory. You're going to start seeing a lot of stuff with me in Ballistic Theory because they got good ammo for good prices. Use Byron for my discount with those guys as well. Last but not least, Executive Protection Institute. Hey, go check them out and get your executive protection education on. Until the next podcast, this is Byron Rodgers, protector by nature and by trade. Out.